Hello everybody, my name is Joshua and I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of Coffee, Cats, and King, where we will discuss books, both new and old. I will share with you pictures of my cats that will make you wish they were your cats, and I will drink enough coffee for me and everybody watching. So, I'm back today with another book review. Once again, an author has graciously reached out to me, offered me a copy of one of his books, and asked me to review it. So, we are going to be talking about Darkest Hours by Mr. Mike Thorn. And this is actually a revised, expanded edition of one of his old collections, so this is not an entirely new collection, but I was really excited because I've never read anything by Mike Thorn. And so, what is this about? This is a short story collection. There's no general theme other than the fact that it's all very horrific. I'm just going to give a brief little description of each of the stories, tell you the rating that I gave that particular story, and we'll talk a little about it. So, first story is Hair. Hair is about a man who learns that he really likes to eat hair, and things get super gross from there. I gave it 2.5 stars. That one, 2.5. I wasn't a huge fan of it. It was gross. He achieved that much. But I didn't really feel like there was a lot of substance to the story. Second story is Mictian Diabolus. And this is about a group of rather stupid teenagers who decide to break into an old school where previously the principal, now known as the Peeler, kidnapped a bunch of kids, skinned them alive, and sacrificed them to something. It was a really cool read. I gave it 4 stars. It's also very much about what it is like to be an addict and how difficult it is to break that addiction. After that, we have the story A New Kind of Drug. This is about some kids who discover a creature that allows them to go on this weird, spacey, other dimensional high if they hurt it. And so, I don't know, it was a weird read. I didn't much care for it. I gave it 2 stars. I guess I kind of know what he was going for, but it was not my favorite whatsoever. Next, we had Party Time. This is about a man who did something terrible and is now being stalked at a party by someone that he really does not want to see. I gave it 3.5 stars. After that, there was a story called Mired. I'm just going to say I gave it 1 star. I didn't like it. I'm not even going to talk about it. Then we had The Auteur, which was about this man who works at a video store, and one of his employees there keeps trying to, offer him suggestions on horror movies, and she makes some herself on the side, and he really wants to watch them, and she's telling him, look, you're not ready, but he kind of pressures her into it, and things go from there and really ramp up. I gave it 3 stars. It was a solid story. After that, we had Choo Choo. This is about a couple idiots who go out in the woods in the middle of the night to get high, and they discover this train yard that neither one of them knew was there, and they decide that they're going to break in and ride the trains. So, it's 3.5 stars. It was a bit silly, fun. I enjoyed it. After that, I read Fear and Grace. This is about a woman who's at a conference who ends up confronting a man from her past who everyone sort of looks up to in the community, but she knows that underneath he's really pretty much a psychopath. I gave it 5 stars. This was one of the most realistic stories in the collection, and I thought it was very impactful. After that, we had The Long Man. This is about a group of friends who are recounting tales of this boogeyman that basically scared the crap out of them as kids, and they're now realizing as adults that all of them saw this individual they call the Long Man, and so maybe he wasn't just a figment of their imaginations. I gave that one 5 stars as well. After that, we had Economy These Days. This is about a man who takes a job offer to be a human punching bag. I gave it 4 stars. It had a very Bentley Little sort of vibe to it, and I love Bentley Little's writing, so I rather enjoyed this one. Following that, we had Sabbatical. This is about 2 students who rent a cabin in the woods, and they're supposed to go there over the weekend and start working on their individual thesis. And one of them is very confident. He keeps telling the other, I'm going to have it done by the end of the weekend. And the other one is, basically like, okay, dude, you can't do that. It's not possible. Well, as we find out, it is, if you're willing to give some things up in return. So, I gave that one 4 stars. I thought it was solid. After that, we had Satanic Panic. And just as the name might suggest, this goes back to the days of the Satanic Panic. And so there are a bunch of pets that are turning up dead in awful ways. And the police blame this one particular boy who wears ripped jeans and band tees and listens to, heavy metal and death metal. But as they soon learn, he is not the culprit. So I gave that one 3.5 stars. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Then we had Speaking of Ghosts. This was another one that was supposed to be humorous, and I just didn't like it. I'm not going to talk about it. I gave that one 1 star. Then we had Lucio Schultz. This is about an art major, art critic, who gets a chance to meet his idol at this party. This man who is world renowned for his sculptures. This was very much a sort of House of Wax feel to it, and I gave it 3 stars. It was okay, but after all those really awesome stories, it just wasn't quite as impactful. Then we had Fusion. This is about some friends who are on a camping trip who learn not to mess with nature, and that curiosity does in fact kill the cat every time. So I gave that one 4 stars. That was a lot of fun. Very nice twist there. Made me think of a particular Nick Cutter book. Those of you who have read that one know what I'm talking about. And then the last story is Remembering Absence. This is about a man who was murdered, and this is his ghost recounting those last days and recounting his life and just lamenting the loss of what could have been. It was very solid. I gave it 4.5 stars. And then after that, Mike Thorn throws in a bunch of horror movie critiques, which at first I thought was very odd. I didn't think that it really set well with everything else, but I found that I really enjoyed them. One thing I will say is that at the end of every story, Mike gives you some information about that particular story, how he came up with the idea, his inspiration behind it, and I have to say, for a few of the stories, I enjoyed that part more than I did the story. He's an excellent writer, and so the critiques were very well done, if you're into that. And so it was really solid. Overall, there were a couple stories in there, obviously, that I didn't care for, but for the most part, I really enjoyed them. He very much has down pat this idea of, taking old slasher movie tropes and, horror movies from the golden age of horror, taking those ideas and building them into, something new, something original and cool and fun. So I thought it was really great. I really want to pick up something else from him, maybe, one of his novels, to see how he does this in a longer sort of scenario, but I really enjoyed it. I'm going to give this one 4.5 stars overall. just because there were a few stories there that brought it down for me particularly. But really awesome. I highly suggest it to horror fans. I think you'll very much enjoy yourself. And I'm looking forward to picking up more from him and looking forward to picking up a physical copy of this book for my own collection. So thank you, Mr. Mike Thorn, for giving me this opportunity. I very much appreciate it. I hope that we can work together again in the future. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you will pick this collection up. I highly suggest it. And let me go on and throw some cats in here while we're at it. What are you doing? What are you doing, buddy? Yes, your brother's in here. And that'll do it for today, guys. Thank you as always for joining me. Have a wonderful day. Cheers.